Yeah, no, I don't know if I would take anything down. I don't think this is something that I would have, been thinking about.
Lucky us.
Not on my list. American ambassador comes and names.
It's like, we're downtown Prague in a really cool bar that I wish I could recommend you for a visit. I mean, there's free table tennis, football, and a pool table, and most likely the beer is free as well. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you to come here because, believe it or not, we're in the underground bunker of a US embassy. And we're not here to sit on a bar, but we're here to talk about cultural differences with the US ambassador. We're here with Bijan Sabat, the US ambassador. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having us at your beautiful embassy.
Welcome.
You have a pretty cool view.
It's pretty great.
You've been an ambassador for almost 2 years now, and we want to run through some cultural differences that our countries share or do not share. So you've talked about a lot how you got the phone call from the White House. They call you and they're like, you're going to be a US ambassador to
the Czech Republic.
Oh, so you knew that up front? So you were not surprised?
No, I was. I really was. I was thrilled. Yeah, absolutely.
What did you know about the country?
I knew, of course, the Czech Republic is an important NATO ally. I knew the history going back to 1918 between our two countries. I knew certainly Václav Havel, but then I just started studying like crazy. I read Madeleine Albright's books. I talked to people I knew that had been to the country, American Czechs. Studied. Okay, but what was the first stereotype that popped in your head? Stereotype?
Or like Czech Republic equals this?
I guess let me say it a little differently. I met people that told me things. I know Czech American friends that said, you should be aware of X, Y, and Z. Some of those were true. Some of those I had no idea like what they really meant. And other things I think they were wrong.
What did they tell you to be aware of?
They said Czechs like beer.
You don't fear that. You just
no. I knew it, but I have to say it's a little bit. It's of course accurate. Czechs like beer, yes, but it's more than that. The community in pubs is not just drinking. It's hanging out with friends for a long period of time. I think the U.S. beer culture is different, and I like the Czech culture. You and I have had a beer in a
couple times,
and it's not just drinking. We're spending time together. It's great.
Making U.S. ambassador drunk since 2021. Speaking of Madeleine Albright and Václav Havel, any other Czechs you knew prior to coming here?
Knew personally, no, but of course, Jágr is like a legend in the U.S. and in the Czech Republic. One of my heroes, I will say, because I'm a photography hobbyist, is a photographer named Josef Koudelka. He has these famous pictures of when the Soviet tanks came in '68, and I had a chance to meet him. And I met him at his flat in Prague, and it was I was so grateful for the time, and he actually let me take his portrait.
Nice.
Yeah. Look, I have to say I've been very lucky. I've been now here 2 years, and I love hiking. So hiking up in Isted and Liberec has been really special. I've skied in this country. I've done mushroom hunting in this country. So for me,
we really did a number on you. I'm sorry.
I really consider this my second home.
Okay, wow. Living in Prague, 5 places you can recommend to American tourists coming here.
Okay. Well, some of them are obvious ones, we should talk about, but you have to see it. You have to walk across the Charles Bridge at sunrise. I think you should. I think it's a magical place. Okay. The castle is clearly a must. I also like some of the other neighborhoods. Like I love grabbing a coffee in Šmíchov because to me it just feels like a very special place. I like Karlín a lot. There's a bakery there, Eska Bakery. Maybe you know this place.
I know the place, okay, but
you need help on your channel, you let me know. But for me, getting into these neighborhoods, clearly Malá is amazing, but getting into these different neighborhoods in Prague is what I really encourage all Americans who come here. It's not just Prague 1 and 2. You have to go explore.
Most of our viewers are from US. If there's one thing you can tell them to prep for their trip to avoid or be ready for.
Step 1 is you have to subscribe to The Honest Guide. Yeah, that is a must. But really what I tell everyone is this is a very safe place. Go wander. You can't get lost in a way that's dangerous or scary. You can even eat the mushrooms here if you bring a Czech friend.
Not this one, please. Don't eat this mushroom, okay? It's poisonous.
And I also really encourage people to get outside of Prague. Whether it's places like Český Krumlov, these are touristy, but it's also just to see other parts of the country. On the way to Český Krumlov, stop at a little village, grab a svíčková and meet some people, and you won't forget it.
I apologize to all the frequent viewers that once again I'm interrupting a video with an advertisement for Surfshark, But hey, I couldn't miss the opportunity of an Eiffel Tower, the famous bridge where we filmed, and this. You recognize that? But anyhow, you also recognize Surfshark as our partner sponsor, which is a service that allows you to be virtually anywhere around the globe. So wherever you're sitting, you can actually be in Paris. You can be in Paris. Your computer, your device, your iPad, your phone, and therefore you can access website that sometimes can be restricted. So if you ever see a message, oopsie daisy, sorry, not in your country, just bypass it. Click SurfsharkVPN and voila, you can watch whatever you want. Use this lovely QR code that is next to me to get 4 months of the service extra for free on top of your purchase, or simply go to surfshark.com/honestguide. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring us, and thanks to all our viewers who are still sticking around with us. Mr. Ambassador, I've heard that you really like our country, and you've just proved that. So if you want to stay, you can get the citizenship. Obviously, you know the president, so you can just ring him to get the Czech citizenship.
I don't think that's how it works, but I'll allow the question.
I don't know how these things work. But if you want to get the Prague citizenship, you got to ring the honest guide, which would be me. And I got to run the quick, can you become a Prague citizenship test with you? Or have you become a Prague local?
Okay.
All right.
A little nervous.
Well, let's try. Can you show what a normal size of coffee is?
Normal kava. Maybe this.
Good. Good. Wow. Have you tried absinthe?
I have not.
That's good. That's very good. That's the right answer for becoming a local in Prague. Can you tell the time from the astronomical clock?
Yes.
You can?
Yeah. I think Adam showed me.
Oh, okay. That's the first wrong question because people of Prague do not know how to tell the time from the astronomical clock.
I'm pretty sure Adam, I know he showed us. Yeah.
We should have done this at the astronomical clock, so we would ask you. If somebody tells you, let's meet at Stalin, where do you meet?
Oof. I mean, it's a good question. I would, maybe at the metronome?
Yes, wow, really good.
All right.
Okay, so there was a statue of Stalin, that's why we still refer to it as that. So Stalin had a statue there. Who else had a statue at Stalin?
The king of pop.
You know that?
I know that.
Wow, how do you know that?
Because it's a known thing.
That's impressive. Yes, Michael Jackson had a statue overlooking Prague to announce his concert. You've mentioned svíčková.
Yeah.
What kind of dumplings?
Oh, there's only one answer. You have to do bread dumpling. Knedlik.
Wow.
Yeah. What would you do?
Well, no, that's correct.
Okay.
No, but there's also potato dumplings and chrupatý. Wow, I'm actually impressed. Wow, that's very good. We were thinking of how to edit this not to make him look bad if he doesn't know the answer to the dumplings, and he just nailed it. Accept or decline conversion.
Well, I'm cheating because I watched your videos over and over and over again. So you have to take the local Czech currency. Always.
That's very right. Decline. Always decline. Mr. Ambassador, you would pass the test to become a Prague local, so congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
We'll make sure to get you a little Prague pass. But I have a couple more here. Right. Fill in the blank. Czechs are?
Kind.
Wow, thank you. Trdelník is? Or is not? This is up to you to decide.
This is a painful question. Here's what I know. It's not Czech.
There you go.
It's 100% not Czech. I think it's Romanian, but it is not Czech.
Learned the hard way. Best beer is?
Ooh, I mostly drink Pilsner, but a friend of mine took me to Matuska, and it's pretty great.
Oh.
Yeah.
You could say Budweiser to please both nations here.
Is the story there.
So after living here for quite some time and you observed us as nation, would you consider these stereotypes to be true or false?
Okay.
Czechs never smile.
No, that's false.
That's false, okay.
Of course, yeah.
Czechs wear socks and sandals.
I've seen it. I've seen it, yeah.
It's real. They're out there in the wilderness. They're picking mushrooms. They don't smile and they do wear socks and sandals.
Yeah. But I think there's a method to it. Yeah,
Okay.
There's a reason.
We're beer lovers.
Yes.
And we are not self-confident.
I don't know if I would say that. I would say there's some Czech modesty that's unique, but it's not a self-confidence thing. I think Czechs are I mean, everybody's different, of course, and unique, but as a culture, I think Czechs are proud, but just a little bit more reserved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you share anything in Czech? Do you have any Czech words that you learned?
This one I'm going to fail miserably.
No, anything. Ahoy, do you know ahoy?
Ahoy, yes. Děkuji moc, Janek, yes.
Thank you very much, Michal. This was a pleasure. Nobody?
Good.
Yeah? Thank you so much. Now, let's be honest. You most likely are not going to be able to roam around the U.S. Embassy as we were lucky enough to do so. But you can visit the consular section of the embassy, or actually you might have to. For example, if you're an American tourist and you lose your passport in Prague. So keep an eye on the passport so you don't have to visit. But let me tell you, I lived in Prague my entire life, and to have a chance to come here was great. And by the way, for the very first time in my life, I can see the tower of St. Nicholas Church that we've talked about a million times, from which the secret police used to spy on the US Embassy, on their garden. They really had a clear sight, which I can now see from the opposite direction. Join the discussion. Please write a comment. Let us know what you guys think about the cultural differences between US and our lovely country. And I hope to see you either here or on our channel next week. And as the ambassador said, subscribe to The Honest Guide. And at the end, we are going to teach you a Czech word at the end, which this time would be the spokesperson, Don, from the US Embassy. So how do you say spokesperson in Czech?
In Czech, spokesperson is tiskový mluvčí, which is the person who speaks to the press, the tiskový.
Tiskový mluvčí. Thank you very much.
Thank you.